Back-to-back NBA Finals overtimes. We've never seen it happen. Maximus, are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I mean, are we not entertained, boys? J.R. Jackson, Jeremy Rucker, Jason Rubin here to break down NBA Finals Game 2. It's been proven LeBron can beat the Warriors, at least in the Game 2 setting. There is too much to talk about with this game. Jeremy texted me last night, well, at least we'll have some things to talk about for Game 2. And it really does come down to two things, at least in my mind. One, LeBron is unstoppable when he plays the point guard position, and it truly shows. This is not a LeBron pumping clip, as Francis always gets made fun of for the Ronaldo. He's a Ronaldo fanboy. Is Jason a LeBron fanboy? At this point in the series, at this point in LeBron's career, I think this is the peak. I think we've hit the summit of Everest in terms of how is the best basketball player of my generation playing, Jeremy's too, compared to the others. Of course, there's the arguments with Michael and Kobe, but that's not about this clip. The other second thing that I want to say first off and foremost, and I think too many people are afraid to see it, Steph Curry played like shit. The MVP played like shit.
I didn't know people were ignoring that. I thought that was a big story.
I didn't see it. I didn't see the storylines. What I saw was when this happens to LeBron, LeBron played poorly in overtime in Game 1, and we truck him. We give him so much shit. We give him spoonfuls of shit. We can't stand not seeing LeBron play a perfect game. Durant does it last year in the playoffs, and the Oklahoman publishes Mr. Unreliable. Steph Curry does it. Well, Dellavedova played the best defensive game of his life. He airballed.
Let me maybe explain that, because we get tired of certain people getting pumped up so long. Steph is at the beginning of the pump-up phase. There's only been one season. Everyone's like, oh, I love this guy, I love this guy, I love this guy. Who is this guy? Oh, it's Dell's son? Oh, my God, Dell was pretty good. This guy's ridiculous, right? You know, we're still getting introduced to the greatness of Steph Curry. We've been hearing about CP3 and Griffin and Durant and
Westbrook
and all these guys. We've been hearing about these guys for seasons, and we see their ads and their commercials constantly. We're like, oh, my God, no more Cliff Paul. You know, so
it's Sebastian Curry.
Yeah, we get so tired of seeing it that we're ready to be done with them when they have one bad game. This kid has one bad game, and we're like, oh, it's okay. We still like him because we're not tired of him yet.
Right. That is a very good point. And again, it seems like ever since I started with this NBA Finals coverage, I've been discrediting too much of Steph Curry, calling LeBron James the MVP, which I still think he is, and trying to take away from what Steph Curry has earned. Again, 67-win team, one of the greatest teams we've seen in NBA history if they go on to win this series. And you can call this overreacting because it's a 1-1 series. And Amon Shumpert jump shot away from being 2-0 in Cleveland, but it is 1-1. We're now deadlocked, and we go back to Cleveland. The entire series does shift. And in terms of this game, we really look at it and kind of go, just another bookmark, another chapter in LeBron's career. My biggest interest is how the Warriors respond to this. Jeremy, we were discussing before the clip, in general, how Steph Curry was 2 of 15, one of the worst three-point shooting performances. The worst.
He missed more threes than anybody else in finals history.
What do you draw up from that?
Well, I mean, a bunch of things. One thing is that he's human, so we figured that out. That's good to know. But yeah, I mean, as Kerr said it, Curry said it, Kerr and Curry. Those are two different people. He missed shots. He missed shots that he usually makes. He said they felt bad coming out of his hands. So, I mean, you can credit that to Dellavedova. You can credit that to maybe them, you know, shading towards him on defense. I don't know what you credit it towards, but to say that that's going to happen twice in a row seems a little unlikely, or even anything remotely like that. Obviously, we don't know. It's all speculation, but that's what we do here. So there's a lot of things going on in play here. He had the worst shooting night in finals history. LeBron was unbelievable. And Dellavedova played great defense, but I agree with you, Jason. You can't get over the fact that Curry had a shit night from the floor. He shot terribly. And they still almost won the game, right? They were down by 11 with 3 minutes left, and they almost pulled it out. And their best player, and the best player in the league, according to the MVP polls, had the worst game of his career. So, I mean, what it tells you is a lot and also nothing at the same time.
Right. It's just poor timing for Steph Curry. Right. And, again, he's the most elegant player.
We don't know that. So another interesting fact is... Sorry.
Oh, go.
So remember the whole thing when he fell like 10 stories and hit his head in the ground during the game? He flipped over Trevor Ariza. Right. So he's been shooting 37% since that incident, or something around that. Much lower than his 44%.
Think he's a little bit sore?
I have no idea what it means, but it's worth noting, right?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you make that point because, again, back to LeBron real quick, physical specimen. How the guy walks after 10 seasons of putting the team on his back, though, is amazing to me. Although, when you look at all like the hyperbaric chambers he sits in after games, it's like, oh, he's basically a superhero. Steph Curry is not as physical as LeBron is, and I do wonder if that fall, a little bit sore. You're talking about, when they always do this in the NBA Finals, it doesn't matter what final situation it is, NBA, NFL, it goes on, right? A season long of basketball takes your toll on your body. Maybe Curry is just a little bit tired, but
I mean, and we give credit to the defense already. So when someone shoots, it's not like he shot wide open shots badly all night.
No.
So the thing is, when you put any kind of pressure on someone, I mean, you relate a little bit with how finals or seasons occur with any sport. In the NFL, I remember when the Rams were the finesse team and they were like the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
And then someone finally punched them. And they're like, they're not used to getting hit. He got a lot of physical defense. He got a lot of nudges, a lot of bumps. And when they're coming off of picks, he wasn't just let to go free and be like, oh, well, let's stop this guy. He's a finesse player. He's not a grind out, as you talk about. LeBron can run through people and he can go around them. He can do many different ways to score. Steph is kind of a finesse guy, and they put a little grit on him. And now he was a little shaken. He didn't know how to handle it. He's gonna have to see how to respond to that now. The real question comes, I'm not as, I guess, taken aback by his bad shooting night. I saw why it happened, but to see if they're going to respond correctly by adjusting to it.
That's what I'm interested. That's what I'm most interested in because you saw, and again, Game 1 and Game 2 of these finals have been eerily similar, at least in score. At one point, going into halftime, I was like, it's going to be 51-48 at the half. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be the exact same score as Game 1. We're going to have overtime, and we're going to see what's going to happen. The adjustments are made on a game-by-game basis. And the one thing that does seem to be working constantly all season long for the Warriors is what I like to call the form a fucking wall double screen for Steph Curry, which is basically you get Bogut, and sometimes Bogut comes up, a lot of the time it's Draymond and Barnes or Draymond and Clay, and they'll run the literally stacked double screen at the top of the key, which I like to, again, explain, form a fucking wall. Steph rolls around it and picks and pops a nice, beautiful three-point
now,
shot.
there will be probably a third player from Cleveland that steps up, of course. They're doing everything they can to stop this.
Well, we talked about this. J.R., who didn't shoot that well last night, is still due for a 12 or 15-point shooting game.
And it seems like he could come after when he got a lot of ridicule for a few bad fouls that he called. That
Three
called on him.
atrocious.
Horrible.
Two atrocious
horrible
fouls and one.
Actually,
pretty bad
the
foul.
pump fake one, all of us would have gone for.
Yeah, that's not what I'm going to say. You shouldn't leave your feet.
That's why my favorite thing on the internet is every time like Steph Curry splashes a three or any shot of that matter, you're like, you know he's going to shoot the ball.
Except when he doesn't.
He does.
Yeah.
But the J.R. Smith fouls.
Yeah,
the
no,
way,
I had the
even when
same
he
issue with
misses.
Kobe. Kobe has this weird little pump fake. I was like, who goes for that?
Everybody.
I would. If I was guarding him, I would go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. What was interesting, too, is that even when Steph Curry misses, when that ball comes out of his hand, you're like, oh, it's going in.
Even if he's
it's
chucking
probably
it,
going in, too.
it always looks good.
Yeah, so, JR, I know you also had one specific moment that we do need to highlight, and that player is?
Well, that player is fat ass. I'm sorry. It's Maurice Spates. So, okay, so the big play that really I saw was a big game changer was Maurice Spates. He had a fast break, tossed it up to him. He looked very cautious as he was just dribbling and looking back, going, is someone going to track me down? Because I move really slowly. I'm not a ball handler. And actually, no, I wasn't surprised when it happened, but I was still surprised.
I can't even imagine a scenario where that doesn't go in the fucking
and
movie.
it was
How did
it was
that-
the first missed dunk that was in and out.
Right. Well, in NBA history, well, two things. One, LeBron's over there looking like, oh, God, is that not going to go in? And then before that, you got to think, I've been realizing something, because if you go to the screenshot before that we just had up, Shump's hair in the background, is that a competitive advantage to defenders? Like, he's, what, 6'4"-ish? With the hair, he's about 6'6".
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of, like, how tall are they going to let Shump's hair go before they're like, all right, you're listed 6'4", but your hair is standing 6'11".
start playing
He's
forward.
going Marge Simpson on everybody.
He's got a 6'11" hair span.
It's true. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we found interesting, and Zach Lowe pointed this out, after LeBron hit what looked like to be the dagger three, and my God, was it in LeBron fashion. He splashed that shot from deep. Like, I remember watching that in 2006 in his sophomore and junior seasons with the Cleveland Cavaliers before he went to the Heat. It's an iconic shot. Again, we talk so much about the Eastern Conference Finals and the second round of the playoffs with LeBron shooting. Well, LeBron, he's shooting 35-something% from the field, doesn't look that good. LeBron's still not shooting amazing. He's going about, what, 12 of 37 each night? If 15 of 30 happens, 16 of 30. Like, he can go off for, he's averaging 41.5 points in the finals. So all those, LeBron doesn't score like Jordan did in the finals. He's doing that right now because he's forced to. We talked about LeBron point guard, but I just want to look real quick. I don't think LeBron was excited after the win.
Everything. All the emotions is going on right now. We wanted to come out here and play well.
Like having an 18-wheeler run down the court at you. How do you stop it? You foul, you try to even hack, you try to go for the ball. It doesn't seem to work, and I still can't believe when he drives to the lane, any of those shots don't fall. He is so superior in that way. Again, this is the LeBron pumping show, I guess.
I guess if anything else, you can at least, I don't know what kind of comfort you can take in after losing that game as far as the Warriors' point of view is concerned. First off, his reaction like that, after game 2, tying up the series, we know it's a big win to get. You don't want to be down 0-2. But it always seems like LeBron is unfazed by things. He's phased. He knew how important this was. And that was a release of like, we just went ahead 3-1 and we're about to on the verge of winning this. That was that kind of celebration.
You saw his face after he got hacked across both arms by Iguodala. I couldn't even imagine what sort of thoughts were running through his head at that time. He seemed beyond pissed. Right. That's not a good thing if it's LeBron being beyond pissed.
And LeBron, the good thing about both these teams don't get technicals for the most part. I know there was a double
generally
technical called
finals
in the game.
Teams tend to not.
They're cool, calm, and composed even when upset. And, when LeBron gets that animated at the refs, it was a poorly officiated game, but it was a consistent poorly officiated game. They set the precedent from the very beginning of that game that
we're going to referee like shit.
Yeah, well, that was what
it always switches to its team,
Well, what's interesting about it was they were going to blow the whistle a lot, and they set that precedent. And I said from the beginning, and Van Gundy backed me up. Thank you, Van Gundy, whether he knew about me or not. When they're blowing the whistles that much, they have to consistently blow the whistles that much, meaning nothing's going to let go. And then all of a sudden, in the last 2 minutes, they kind of the game, and in overtime, they let those calls slide.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate blaming the refs for any outcome of any game, and I'll do anything in my power to never blame the refs. There's other ways to win besides poor officiating. Although, when some calls started happening in the first quarter, a little part of me was like, oh, it's fixed. They want the Cavs to tie the series. This is great for my betting, my gambling history. So I think there we have it in terms of this game 2. It's tough because you don't want to draw too many conclusions after a 1-1 series. And every game we're going to be sitting here going, oh my God, Steph scored 44 points. Oh, LeBron scored 44 points. It changes. We now go back to Cleveland. I think for our own entertainment, we want a series split. We want 2-2 going back to Roracle.
I think we're going to get what we want.
So it's important to note, though, just one last thing, that Kyrie Irving being out obviously is a huge blow to that team. But one thing it does do very well is it makes their defense infinitely better. Kyrie Irving is not a good perimeter defender usually, and with a bad knee, he's a particularly bad perimeter
Which was
defender.
surprising because he played his best defense in game 1.
He did. Well, he had 8 days off, right?
Well,
so if you see the Cavs, when the Cavs came out against the Hawks, whatever game they won by 30, and they had Kyrie missing and Love missing. I think was it the clinching game? I think it was.
Might have been.
Anyway, they had this defensive intensity and their defensive scheme is completely different than when Kyrie's on the floor because you have to compensate for the fact that he can't guard the best player in the league in Steph Curry on offense. So the entire scheme is different. So I think if the Warriors have one game to sort of use the defensive scheme that the Cavs threw at them, and they're going to go back to the drawing boards. Kerr has a great coaching staff. They're going to come up with something different. Like, we didn't see Steph getting open very much. I guarantee you he'll get open more in Game 3.
Yeah, and he's not going to shoot 2 of 15.
No.
Even if he goes 5 of 15, it's a huge point swing. We were waiting all game long for the run. When are the Warriors going to go on a 17-2 run? When are the Warriors going to go 26-2 run? Real quick mention of Klay Thompson, because again, that's what the Cavs don't have, is that guaranteed second scoring option. He's a microwave. Klay is a microwave. The guy heats up, and it's a fucking heat check. And he even did it to himself, which is one of my favorite things in the world, because he took a long three that he missed. If he hit it, 37-point quarter again, God knows what happens.
And that's what happens when you play the right kind of defense on a guy like Steph.
Yes.
Somebody has to get freed up. Another point about who should have scored was Draymond Green. I think he scored his first 2 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he did.
He scored more than that.
He played some damn good defense. Tristan Thompson, although 0 points, an offensive rebounding machine. I think we've now basically touched on everybody. And Della Vadova, enjoy your little spotlight. SMU played under Larry Brown. Just looked it up before the show. We leave you with this. My feeling for that game is that LeBron James must have had a little conference with the team before he went out there. Greg Popovich once said in an NBA Finals game, I think it was 2007, whoever plays the worst defense is buying me a car. And I think nobody wanted to be buying LeBron James a car because there's only Kia Optimas that are fit for a king. NBA Finals Game 2, what are your thoughts? What do you think happens with the rest of the series? Where does LeBron rank right now with his points and his averages? We want to get into a good discussion down in the comment section. We will all be responding for your entertainment. Thank you for watching as always, and don't forget to subscribe to G.O.A.T Sports.